أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نحن نقص عليك نبأهم بالحق، إنهم فتية آمنوا بربهم وزدناهم هدى. No doubt, the most important stage in anyone's life is his youth stage. And it's not only pertinent to individuals, it is also considered to be the treasure and the wealth of every society, every community. Basically, if you would like to see how a country is doing, is just look at the vibrancy and livelihood of its youth. It can be used as a caliber to understand how, motivated and successful any country would be. It's just by looking at this segment of people, the youth. And when you look at the biography of great personalities in history, you see that they have invested in their youth stage, in their youth life. It is this critical stage, the one that starts just after the adolescent year until, the middle ages, 30s and 40s. You see that they have spent this time in order to build their own characters. It is their investment in that period that has given up and gave, a best result. Therefore, we would say that any country, any society would like to succeed, the first and most important thing is to invest in the youth. My topic tonight will be about the challenges that our youth, the Muslim American youth, face in this country or in Western country in general. And I will be talking about them in details after your big and loud salawat. The first challenges, I have summarized them in 4 important challenges, kinds of challenges. The first challenge, brothers and sisters, it is the identity crisis. You see that the Muslim youth who currently live in the United States, either they have come, to this country at relatively young age, or they have been born to parents who are immigrants, or, grandchildren of people who have immigrated to this country. Now, if we would like to do a comparison between the youth and their parents, the difference is very clear. For example, the parents who have moved from the homeland, they had a few components that have made it easy for them to grow in such environment back in their homeland. While the youth or their children in this country have completely different environment. For example, the parents, when they used to live in the homeland, the values of the street, of the environment that surrounds the household, was compatible with the values of the household itself. Basically, the same religion, the same culture, and the same moral values that governs the household also governs the street. There is no difference between the two. Plus, the friends, the acquaintance, and those people who are very close to the parents were also homogeneous. Meaning, in terms of religion, they are the same. In terms of culture, they are the same. In terms of ethnicity and background, it is the same. Also, in terms of financial status, those people who have moved from, for example, from villages, you will see an entire village, more or less, has same financial, status. So that is what was in the homeland. But when you come to our children, or the youth who have grown up here in the United States, as Muslims, in the home, they practice their faith and their culture. The first thing that they face is the surrounding, the street, the market, the school is completely different than their own culture. Neither religion, nor language, nor the ethnicity, nor the financial status is the same. As the proverb goes, this country is considered to be a melting pot. Melting pot of what? Of so many different cultures. Therefore, the culture that exists in the street, in the market, is completely different than the one that exists in the household. Here, if there is not a strong foundation available at home, if the parents do not enforce their own cultural identity, then the youth will face a big crisis. They don't know to whom they belong to, which kind of holidays they celebrate, whether they celebrate Christmas or the Eid, for example. There are many things that probably here to an average American is mandatory and very well given, yet in our tradition there is not much acceptance. So basically it is the youth who has to come up to feel comfortable with both. Yet it is the responsibility of the parents, of the father and mother, to help him to build his identity. You see, brothers and sisters, it is the youth in our adolescent time when we build our self-image and resolve our ego identity problem. It is in that years that we build our identity. Those individuals who have a strong identity, they will face adulthood with confidence and certainty. Therefore, you do not see any problem that faces them. They know for sure that they are Muslims. And there are certain things that they need to commit themselves to. Therefore, they will not be shaken later on. But those individuals who don't have solid background in this, they are lost. They don't know. They're Muslims or non-Muslims. They're Americans or non-Americans. And one additional challenge that is added to this challenge, it is that we have come to a Western country, to a Western civilization. It is not any other civilization. The civilization that exists in this country or in West in general is very domineering and very appealing. You see, you cannot think of anything, any product, that it is not the product of this civilization. From the microphone that I am talking to the means of transportation that takes you back home, and the same means of transportation that has brought you all the way from, our homelands, all are the product of this civilization. It is very intriguing, very appealing. It can take us swiftly if we don't have a strong identity. Based on that, if you go back and check what the scholars say, they have different views about the West. Generally, there are 3 views. I will summarize one by one. There are plenty of things that I need to cover. Therefore, Excuse me if I speak a little bit fast. There are three different views when it comes to a Western civilization, a Western culture. The first view, which is mostly traditional and a classic, tells you that West is like a field full of mines. It's a minefield. It's a field full of spikes and prickles. Be careful. It is a dangerous area. At any time, a mine can be exploding in your face and can destroy you. Just be very, very careful. Now, maybe you also run into a rose, a flower. But generally, it is not a place that you can stay in. It's full of spikes and thorns, and it's dangerous to stay in it. And if you choose to stay, meaning that you had to stay, you have to be very, very secluded and isolated. God forbid, if you get mixed in this culture, then you are gone. You are destroyed. You cannot come back again. Why? Because the current is very strong. The flow will take you and will remove you. And we have all seen such kind of examples where there are families who have come and have been washed away by the current. They could not resist it. It was a complete change and transformation in their identity, their culture, and their religion. So the first view said that this place is dangerous. Do not live in such kind of a place. The second view is just the opposite. Tells you, no, this is an oasis of peace and, and happiness and joy. It is in this place that your dreams come true. Here that you will find the opportunity. This place is like a pasture full of roses, flowers with beautiful aromas and fragrances. Now you also may run into spines, into thorns. Maybe there's occasionally one mine that explodes, but that's very seldom. Do not worry about that. But it's good for you that you made, you're coming to this country, to this culture. Good for you, because you will see the doors of heaven has opened on you. And you will see how wonderful and good a place is this. This is like a paradise. According to my view, brothers and sisters, both of those views are extremes. Neither the first one that say this place is a minefield, nor the second one that tells you this place is an oasis of happiness and peace. Both are extremes. There is a third kind of example and definition. And that is, this place is not a minefield or oasis for peace. Rather, this is an ocean. You see, when you look at ocean, sometimes in the ocean you see sunny days, bright days. There is a nice calm breeze coming. You will enjoy that place. You go on the ocean, on the beach, you enjoy the breeze in such a sunny day. Yet there are rainy, cold, and difficult days and afflicted by hurricanes that come and wash everything away. In an ocean you can find fish and shrimps, and in the same place you can find whales and sharks. If you dive deep, you will get to see complete darkness. There is nothing in there, too dangerous, very hot. And at the same time, you can run into treasure, pearls. So it is both. But how can I utilize it? It's under one condition. That is, if I am a good diver, if I know how to swim in such kind of ocean, if I know how to dive in this, therefore, I take the advantages and avoid the mishaps, the misadventures. This is considered to be a West. You see, in the West, you can see all kind of things. Happiness and sadness. Danger and safety. But it depends on the viewer. Depends on me how I will take that one. Therefore, brothers and sisters, This goes to the responsibility of the parents. It is the parent responsibility on how he brings up the child. Tells him what kind of identity he has. And you don't wait until he becomes 17 and 18 that you start talking to him about that. Nor 15. You will start doing this while he's at 3 and 4 and 5 years old. At that time you tell your son or your daughter who they are. Which kind of holidays they celebrate. Which kind of prayers they have. How they act. For example, if she needs to wear hijab, why she needs to wear hijab. If you need not to eat, for example, in fast food restaurant, not to eat from certain meat, you would give the explanation at that time. To have a strong identity at a young age. Otherwise, if you wait later, then it would be too late. So the first problem, brothers and sisters, is called the identity crisis. The second challenge that the Muslim people or Muslim youth face is the ideological problem that exists in this country. I will explain this after your salawat. You see, brothers and sisters, we live in a country that tell you there is a clear separation between church and state. But that has a political meaning, and I'm not talking about that. Anyone who goes to a university, he will see the hostile view toward religion, toward faith. And we've talked about that a couple nights before. We're not going to be talking about this. But the first thing that comes in the face of our youth is God does not exist. What kind of, thing you're believing in religion and things like that. This is certainly a crisis. We need to address this one. This is very difficult. If we look at Quran gives us beautiful examples. There are 2 examples that I would like to share it with you. The first example, God talks about Luqman. Luqman happened to be a wise guy. He was not a prophet. He was not a messenger. Rather, he was full of wisdom. He had plenty of wisdom. God talks about him. He says, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا لُقْمَانَ الْحِكْمَةِ We have given Luqman wisdom. Then Quran describes what kind of wisdom he has given, Luqman. It says, وَإِذْ قَالَ Based on that, how he was wise, because of this. وَإِذْ قَالَ لُقْمَانُ لِابْنِهِ وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ يَا بُنَيَّ لَا تُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ The reason that Quran calls Luqman wise is the fact that how he dealt with his son. His son was a mature guy. He did not say that my son is youth, he knows his business very well, and he can manage himself. No. He guided his son. He went and talked to his son. He sat down with him and guided him and coached him step by step. He didn't say this is the responsibility of my child. He will figure it out. Let him have an experience, then he will come up with the right idea. Whoever says this, in fact, that person is very irresponsible. You see, brothers and sisters, our children, eventually as they grow up, they have the right to decide for themselves. No question about that. But it doesn't mean that you leave them to their own. Rather, you have to coach them. You have to guide them. Any adolescent, anyone who reaches that age, it is mandatory upon his parent to guide him. To tell him, for example, my son, my daughter, read this kind of book and do not read this kind of book. Go watch this kind of movie. Do not watch this kind of movie. And certain things like that. This is how you would coach people. This is how would you guide them. But if you leave them to their own, that they would decide, you think how many years it will take that they will come and experience everything? I mean, how many years we can live? Does life allow that we experience everything, we exercise everything until we get to the right point or right path? No. We have to learn from the previous people. We have to learn from their experiences. What kind of good ideas they have brought. Therefore, Luqman came to coach his son. From the very beginning, he told him about the worldview. And number one ideology is Tawheed. We have talked about that in the previous night. But look at how he dealt with his son. First of all, very calm, peacefully. On the table of dinner or lunch, he started talking to him. How many of us, as parents, have time, find time to sit with our children and talk to them? We get up from early morning until night, caught up with the work and with the daily life challenges. When we come back dead tired, only need to have something to eat for dinner and watch some news and then go to sleep. But here Quran says you have to leave some time for your children. You need to sit with them and talk to them and guide them and coach them. This is the first example. The second example, God talks about Ibrahim alayhi salam, the prophet. He talks about many stages of his life. Among them is his youth stage. He shows how Ibrahim has gone through deep, soul searching. He had an internal conflict with himself first. He talked about his Lord or the creation of this universe. How did this come up all? And after a long and lengthy fight, internally he came up to be victorious over his soul. He recognized his Lord. Now he needs to convey this message to his people. And this is the prime responsibility of every Muslim person who lives in this country. Brothers and sisters, whether you like it or not, whether you admit it or not, we are all ambassadors of our religion and culture to this country. Whether you like it or not. Once people know that you are a Muslim or you have come all the way from your homeland, they will take you as your face value. Whatever you do is reflective of your culture and religion. This is a fact. Now that I am by default, I have become an ambassador. Let's learn from Abraham. What did he do? He was about to convey this message to his people. But unfortunately, his people were very adamant. They were not listening to him. Look, his brilliancy. What did he do? On that holiday, when everybody has left, when everyone has left the town, he went to those idols that have been worshipped by the people. He grabbed a long axe and started cutting through those idols. But look, that's very severe. Something, very graphic to go and attack the sanctity of other people's belief. But when he did that one, he saved the last one, which was the biggest one. What did he do? He grabbed the axe and hanged it on his shoulder. When they came back, they searched who did this one. Eventually they said, we have heard some young guy. God talks about Abraham at that stage as a youth. Fata. قالوا سمعنا فتى يقال له إبراهيم. We have heard that someone like Ibrahim, his name was Abraham, who was about to do such kind of thing. As they go and talk to him, look how he chooses the scenery, how he chooses his argument. What did he do? So when they came and asked him, did you do this to him? To them? The answer was this. قال بل فعله كبيرهم. قال بل فعله كبيرهم هذا فاسألوهم إن كانوا ينطقون. It is this guy, the old one, the big one who have done this. He was the one who perpetrated this crime. Don't ask me, he was the one. If you don't believe me, go ask him. Go and ask this idol, tell him, didn't you do it? You see how he put the plot? How he designed for his argument? So when they go back, would they be able to get an answer from a statue? Would a statue be able to answer them? No. Basically, at that time, he won the psychological war. Psychologically, he won the battle. He won the hearts and the mind of people at that stage. Then later on, when they threw him in the fire and he was saved by God, it was a completion to his victory. But before that, his argument has made him to win. What kind of lesson does this one give us? You see, brothers and sisters, we have to advocate our religion. Islam is the most complete faith. It's the most compatible faith to our daily life today. But do we have to advocate it in the same way that we practice it back at home, for example, in our homeland? I will give you an example. The commemoration of the martyrdom of Imam Hussein is mandatory upon every single follower of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. This lamentation should be carried out by anyone. Whoever considers himself a follower of Ahlul Bayt and does not do this, basically, in my opinion, this guy is not a real Shia, not a real follower of Ahlul Bayt. But saying so, does it mean that we have to do exactly the same way that is traditionally being carried in our homeland? No. We have to find a way. You have to find a way that matches the brains and the minds and hearts of these people here. You don't have to do it, for example, in the same lamentation way that we do it back at home. No. Maybe in the form of a play, in the form of movie. Let's introduce the voice of Imam Hussein. But it doesn't have to be in our own traditional way. Find a way. This is the message of Abraham. Is find a way that clicks with people's minds and brain. So, this was the second challenge. It is the ideological challenge. The third challenge is upholding morality. Again, I will be talking about this after your loud salawat. You see, brothers and sisters, Muslim communities in general, they are very socially conservative or more conservative than other cultures. For example, we have less acceptance toward divorce, no acceptance toward homosexuality or abortion or the interrelationship between, genders, or the premarital relationship. That designates us to be a conservative culture. I'm not talking about religion. Yes, in Christianity, in Judaism, based on their literature, religious literature, they're also opposed, for example, homosexuality and abortion. I am talking about culture per se. This country here, which consider themselves to be Christians, yet they practice such kind of things. But culturally speaking, our culture does not allow such kind of thing. Therefore, Muslim people are usually more conservative than others, especially when it comes to the intergender relationship, how the relationship is managed here or practiced here. For example, the prom nights, having boyfriends and girlfriends, the premarital relationship. It's something very ordinary and normal here. If someone does not have this one, then what do they tell him? They tell him, you are very backward. There's something wrong with you. You have to go and check with the doctor, right? While our values do not allow for such kind of thing. Again, let's go back to Quran to get the exact way of dealing with each other. How does God depict the relationship between men and women, between male and female? You see, the other day or the other night, many of brothers and sisters, they have approached me and they have asked me how this relationship should go. Can we go sometimes, for example, go to coffee shop, Starbucks cafe, or go to and smoke hookah, for example, together? We are a group of people. Is that okay according to Islamic norms and faith? Here is the answer. Go and look at how Quran depicts this kind of relationship between the two. God talks about Moses, alayhi salam. He says that when Moses left Egypt and went toward Midian, he was in exile. He left Egypt because Pharaoh was about to catch him. Therefore, he escaped. As he enters the other city, Midian, what does he say? Quran beautifully depicts this point. But why would Quran emphasize on this point? I mean, this is really not a big deal. Only a scene where Moses enters. In that area happened to be a well full of water. People in masses were fighting over this well. Everyone would like to take the water first. So it was a large crowd, on this well, taking water from this well. Why would Quran depict this? It says, وَلَمَّا وَرَدَ مَاءَ مَدْيَنَ وَجَدَ عَلَيْهِ أُمَّةً مِنَ النَّاسِ يَسْقُونَ. Plenty of people, he see them, that they are watering, they are getting water. However, he notices two modest and good, noble ladies. But those were standing on the outskirts of the place. They were not, in the middle of this crowd, staying outside of this crowd. He asked them, what are you doing here? What are you waiting for them? They say it clearly. They say it, we need to take water, but we cannot. We wait until the crowd is gone, then we go and get water. What kind of lesson comes to you? Does God say go and have, a relationship and get together? It's okay, all our brothers and sisters? You see, why would Quran emphasize on this fact? It is emphasizing on segregation. Is you have to be modest in your relationship with the opposing gender. Not only that, it says that he went and got water for them. He brought this water to them. When he brought it to them and they went home early, their father was curious. How come they finished early and came back? So they told him the story. He sends one of his daughters to ask him to come to his home. Invited him for his home. Again, the Quran depicts the way that she comes back to Moses. What does it say? It says, وَجَاءَتْهُ إِحْدَاهُمَا تَمْشِي عَلَى اسْتِحْيَاءٍ. He said that one of them has approached him. But how did she approach him? Did she say, hey buddy, let's go, our dad is waiting for you? No, it says تَمْشِي عَلَى اسْتِحْيَاءٍ. She came bashfully, shyly, very modest, very respectable approach. This is how Quran depicts the proper and healthy relationship between the genders. In narrations, they say that when Moses was about to go to their father's home, Prophet Shu'aib, he doesn't know the hometown. He doesn't know the town. He doesn't know the streets. Therefore, logically, tells you that the daughter should be walking before him and he's behind her as they get to their destination, their home. But Moses refused to do that. What did he do? And remember, Moses at that stage, he was a prophet, was a great messenger of God. Means that he was infallible. He for sure knows that shaitan cannot penetrate him, cannot lure him. But this message is for us, for me and for you. What does he tell her? He tells her, look, I will be walking in front of you. I will not walk behind you. Why? Because if he walks behind her, his eyes always on her, fixed at her, while he wants to be, free of that. Therefore, he walks before her and told her, at any time you want me to turn, for example, left, right, or left, then grab a pebble and throw a pebble. I will see that a pebble is coming on my right side or on my left side, then I make a turn. This is how Moses is teaching us on the proper relationship between the two genders. Going to Starbucks cafe. You are, for example, group of friends, 2, 3 males, 2, 3 females. For what? Just for hangout? What kind of hangout is this? Some say, no, don't think bad. It's a platonic relationship. There is nothing. It's brothers and sisters. You see, brothers and sisters, it is 2 choices. It cannot be a third one. Either you're fooling yourself and your family, or you're not telling the truth. Why? If a guy, he's in this stage of life, in his 20s, which is full of vibrancy, livelihood, and energy, he comes and say that, I don't have any feeling. I have to tell him first, either you need to go and check with your doctor, or you're not telling the truth. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Brothers and sisters, here we have to have a pause for our proposed silence fundraising. And inshallah, you will be seeing the black baskets will be, moving around. So please help this, this organization. It all belongs to you. The ultimate people who will benefit from that, it is you guys. It is for you, those people who work tirelessly here and with energy and with difficulty. They're putting their times, their resources, all for volunteer. They don't charge anything. They're donating their resources, their energy, all for your own sake, brothers and sisters. Please help them as much as you can. God have said, وَمَا تُنْفِقُوا مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَهُوَ يُخْلِفُهُ. Whatever you spend in His way, in His God, imagine you are lending God this much of money. You think God will take it and He would never return it back to you? He said, يُخْلِفُهُ. You will get it back again. You will be recompensated in this life before the hereafter. In this life, you will reap the benefits. You will get the reward. If Imam Hussein or God Himself take $1 from you, definitely He will bring it back in multiples, in big numbers, at a time that you badly need it, and at that time you will get to appreciate it when it comes to you. So please, brothers and sisters, help as much as you can. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. There are also pledge forms. So, you see some of the brothers and sisters, they are, walking with that. If you would like to give your credit card numbers, also accepted. Any pledge form, if you want to pledge something at this time, for example, you don't have, again, you can do that. There are envelopes that are available. You can put those envelopes in there. And as well as, I think there are also on the internet. If those of brothers and sisters who are listening to me and seeing, our program tonight, the plea is also to you, brothers and sisters. Please do your best to help this organization, this community, for a better result, inshallah. You can call the Islamic Center. I don't know what's the number, brother. It is 313 593 0000. Again, it is 313 593 0000. With your help, inshallah, we will get better results. Sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. You're welcome. So, moving on to the other challenges. We don't have much time. We need to go very fast. We have covered the identity crisis, the ideological crisis, and the moral challenges. The last challenge, brothers and sisters, it is the ordinary challenge that every youth faces in his adulthood, in his youth stage. You see, when we are at university, our minds is all bogged about how we get good grades and how we can get safely from the university. That is our first ambition. Then it starts how to find a good job, how to, start to prepare for our permanent life of starting a new family, finding a suitable spouse, finding a permanent, good, suitable job, and things like that. Our aspirations and wishes, most of the time, fall within the reality. We don't exceed more than that. But unfortunately, sometimes some of us have unusually unrealistic wishes and aspirations. For example, when it comes to finding a spouse, the groom or the husband or the male would like to find a wife that is, beside winning the beauty pageant contest 3 times in a row, he would like her to be very devout, coming from a prestigious, wealthy family, highly educated, at the same time very abiding. She cooks very well, she takes care of children very well, and always abiding by his rule. It is hardly you can find all those equalities to converge in one person. Maybe multiple wives, probably, but not in a single person. You cannot find such kind of person that have all of those qualities, all, have collected in a single person. And the same goes with the, with the ladies. When they search for a spouse, for a husband, that husband has to be, number one, to be highly educated. His income should, far exceed the 5 digits. And, from prestigious family and very handsome. And at the same time to show his love and affection and everything. And abiding as well. If not to her mom, at least listens. Those things that are very difficult, sometimes difficult to achieve. We have to be realistic, brothers and sisters. You see, God has gave us the guidelines in the mouth of the Prophet, peace be upon him. In his words, he came to say that there are 2 qualities. Look at for your, mate, for that spouse. Number 1 is his morality, his ethics. If that is suitable, if that is acceptable, then look at his faith and his religion. If that is also acceptable, you don't have anything to stop you from getting married with that. Very simple. And you can find those qualities in many. This will bring you happiness later on. My point, brothers and sisters, that we have many of those aspirations, but sometimes we cannot achieve them due to certain circumstances. For example, either the family position, the social position of my family in the society. If I cannot achieve what I want, and I see there is a big distance between my position and my dreams, at that time I will start to resent the society, resent my family, start to have bad feeling about, the community. Have you seen those people in the high school or in the college campus who open fire on their classmates and kill their classmate? I remember the first time that I've heard about that, it was Columbine High School. Maybe 20 to 25 people have been murdered by 14 years old teenagers. Two teenagers have opened fire in a high school. Many times this accident have been repeated. Why? When you check, you see that they have missed something, despite for the fact that they have been psychopaths, that eventually at the beginning they had difficulty in reaching their dreams and wishes. You see, sometimes the social structure plays a role. But basically, brothers and sisters, it is us who build our characters. It is me, if I want, I become a medical doctor. It is me, if I want, I become a successful businessman. It is me, if I want, I become a good lawyer. At the same time, it is me, if I become a social worker, for example, or nobody. It is all up to me. There is an important component. If I have that component, then I will be a successful. And that is ambition, brothers and sisters. In the remaining minutes, I would like to talk about ambition. You see, there are 2 communities in this country are considered to be very successful. The Jewish community and the Asian community. When you check carefully, you see that they had the right ambition behind them. They had very good ambition. Therefore, they have been successful. Surveys have shown those people who cannot achieve, who cannot make it, those college dropouts, those people who, end up at the end of the list. There is one common feature between them, and that is lack of proper ambition. They don't have ambition. They don't have aspiration. Now you would ask me, what is ambition? What does it mean? Isn't it the desire to do something? No, it is not the desire to do. Rather, it is the work and the method by which you implement in order to reach your desire, your destination. Just the fact that I have desire in my mind, it doesn't make me ambitious. It makes it a dream. This is called a dream. Ambition meaning that I have the desire in mind. At the same time, I work toward it. If I study hard, every single day I spend 8 to 10 hours of studying hard in college in order to become a medical doctor, that is called an ambition. If I get up in early morning at 5 o'clock and go outside to the market and work hard and try to find where are the resources and utilize my time and my energy and my resources, then it is called I have an ambition to become a good businessman. This is called ambition, not just a desire inside. You see, sometimes we are mistaken by those who do stunt actions or speak loudly or do, frantic works. This is not called ambitious. This is only to grab attention. Ambition has 3 components. I will stop one by one and explain them. Number 1, brothers and sisters, in order to have a good ambition or to be ambitious, you have to have the proper objective. You have to have an objective in life. Surveys have shown those people who are in the university, college students, who don't know, who are called undecided. You ask them, what are you studying? I am undecided. Those people who are undecided, they don't make it. While you are in your teens, you decide what you want to be. In college, you should know what you want. First, you decide on your objective. What do you want to achieve? Once you know what you want to achieve, you assess yourself. You find out where you are, how far you are from your objective. You see, the Prophet, peace be upon him, has very beautiful hadith. It says, رحم الله عبدا عرف من أين وفي أين وإلى أين. May God bless that person who knows from where he is coming, meaning his position, وفي أين, in which path he is, and to where he is going. Define your objective. If you do not define your objective, you're lost. And brothers and sisters, the first thing that you define your objective through is through study, through education. Here, the easiest thing that you do is education. And here you will get, first class education in this country. Do not waste your time for other things. This is number 1, brothers and sisters, is to have objective in life, to be an objective person. The second point, brothers and sisters, the second component for having the right ambition is to have good responsibility, is to be a responsible person. If you look carefully, you see those ambitious people, they have very strong sense of awareness. They know how to utilize their time. They know how they utilize their money. They know how to utilize their resources. Their time is very calculated. They know for how long they sleep. Then when they get up, what they do, what kind of activities they do, and when they study, how many hours they study. But non-ambitious people, their time is scattered. It is not defined by anything. Have you seen those people when they take the elevator, how many times they press on the button? Why they do this? What does that indicate? It is indicative. It's that their time is so precious. They cannot even waste 2 seconds. Right? Have you seen them, what they do? Maybe you are one of them. We are one of them. But when you ask them, what do you do with those 2 seconds? We will give you those 2 seconds. I will multiply that 2 seconds by 1,000. I will give you 2,000 seconds. What do you do with those 2 seconds? Unfortunately, brothers and sisters, many of our youth, we are very good at killing times, on destroying those valuable seconds. We don't know how to utilize them. The Prophet, peace be upon him, tells his companion, he tells Abu Dhar tells him, Ya Abu Dhar, kun ala umrika ashahhu min ala dirhamika wa dinarik. When it comes to your age, to your time, to your days, be stingier than being stingy on your money and wealth. Why? Because money and wealth can be replenished. When you spend it, God would send. But the time that is gone, can it be returned? This time is gone from your life. It's gone forever. You're not going to see it. Therefore, spend it wisely, brothers and sisters. You see, in this country, there is a plenty of technology items. Taken from the iPhones to iPads to iPods and I, plus the, different kinds of means of communications and, getting knowledge and information. We become addicted to that. You see us, how we become addicted to Facebook, to text messaging and those kind of things. Those are things for us to utilize in order to serve us, either to increase my knowledge or I can benefit from them for my life. I buy something valuable or I sell something valuable. But unfortunately, those have been turned to be an items for addiction, an addiction tool. An addiction kills ambition, destroys ambition. When I'm becoming addicted to something, I cannot live without the internet. Okay, here's the internet. What do we do? What kind of useful thing we do with it? We just destroy time in it. But if you look carefully, you see the ambitious people, they don't kill their time with it. Rather, they utilize it in their own advantage. And the last thing, brothers and sisters, it is patience and perseverance, forbearance. You see, there are plenty of, talented personalities. Very smart, very bright. But the problem that they do not succeed is because they give up right away. After a couple of trials, they see it is not, does not invoke their interests. They give up easily. The important component of success, brothers and sisters, is hard work. With hard work, you will be achieving. With patience, you will be achieving something. There is a famous saying from one of the US presidents. I forgot his name. But the saying is very famous. It says that I'm a true believer of luck. But I find it the harder I work, the luckier I become. Luck goes, in association with hard work. With patience. Maybe it requires that you will send your resume 500 times. Send it. It's not a problem. Maybe it requires that you make a specific trip to certain company 50 times. Do it. It's not a problem. Knock on the door. The more you knock, the more chances you will get. It is patience. First of all, belief in what you do. And second, perseverance. That will give you the result. If the prophet of God in Mecca had to give up so easily, for example, upon first complaint of the idol worshippers in Mecca, he would stop his work. Then Islam would have never been established. Islam would never been, formed. It was through his hard work, his perseverance and patience that he ended up having the result. Otherwise, we were not Muslims now. The same thing could be said about Imam Hussein alayhi salam. The first component that he had a patience. He knew what kind of things will come to him. But if he had said, no, I would not do this, we would not sit now and commemorate his name. Imam Hussein became immortal due to this fact that he had good patience, that he stood, with strong steadfastness. When you look at those components and take those components and pose them on the youth of Karbala, you see those youth in Karbala, they had all those three components of success. First of all, they know their objective very well. Ali al-Akbar asked his father, why are you worried, my father? Are you afraid that we die? Wallahi la nubali. أوقعنا على الموت أو وقع الموت علينا. We don't care if we fall on death or death falls on us. This shows you how he knew the objective. He was responsible enough. The youth in Karbala, they were all responsible. You see, when you recite the story, when you read the story in the battlefield, you see the youth were competing between themselves to go and defend their imam and their leader, to sacrifice. Ali al-Akbar would go before the rest of his households. The companions, the youth would, would compete between themselves in order to become martyrs. Gives you how strong sense of responsibility they had. And lastly, they had strong patience. They could survive. They could see how the enemy is treating them, yet they were fighting with a strong motivation. It is narrated Ali al-Akbar, when he went for the battle first time, he came back. He told his father that I am thirsty. I am so thirsty, oh my dad, help me. Is there something that I would drink? What did his father do? He told him, come and put your tongue in my mouth so you can find out how thirsty I am. When Ali al-Akbar put his tongue in his father's mouth, he realized that his father was, thirstier than him. He went back again to the battle and fought. Ali al-Akbar in his young age, he was the closest one resembling to the Prophet, peace be upon him. Was his features, his demeanor was so close to the Prophet. They say one day a Christian man came to Medina and declared that he was Muslim. He said that I need to see your leader. They told him Imam Hussein is our leader, go and see him. This man went to see the Imam. When the Imam asked him the purpose that he became Muslim, he said that I dreamed of your Prophet, the Prophet of Islam. I saw the Prophet of Islam inviting me. Imam Hussein told him, if I show you the picture of the Prophet, the image of the Prophet, would you recognize him? He said, yes, I think I can. The Imam called upon his son, Ali al-Akbar. Ali al-Akbar came to the room. Once the man looked at the face of Ali al-Akbar, he started weeping and said, yes, Ibn Rasulullah, I have seen exact same figure in my dream. He looked like exact this man. He hugged Ali al-Akbar and started weeping. Imam asked him, if you had such kind of child, what would you do? He said, believe me, I wouldn't make him do anything. I would keep him in a secluded room and keep my eyes 24 hours on him, constantly on him. I would stare at him and bless my eyes by his image. Imam Hussein told him, what about if a tiny spine gets into his hand? What would you do? He said that I will die if I see him going through pains or moaning from pain. He tells, you know what will happen to my son? I will see my son decapitated into pieces on day of Ashura. Ali al-Akbar on that day of Ashura, as he charged to the enemy, he was fighting the enemy. Imam Hussein was looking at him. His mother Layla was in the tent. She would look at face of Hussein. If Hussein is happy, she was happy. If the face of Hussein was sad, then she would be worried. At one occasion, she asked Imam Hussein, tells him, what is going on? Can you tell me the status of my son? He tells her that there is an enemy waiting for him. I am afraid, go and worship. Go and ask God to bring him safely. She goes in the tent. She removes the scarf and says, Ilahi بغربة أبي عبد الله يا راد يوسف على يعقوب. Bring me back Ali al-Akbar for one more time. I want to see him. Ali al-Akbar comes. His father tells him, your mother is waiting in the tent. Go and say goodbye to her. He goes, he hugs her and comes back again to the battlefield. As he's fighting, Imam Hussein in the back is watching him. All of a sudden he hears his son says, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Alayka minni salam. Imam Hussein charged toward him and he see his son is decapitated into pieces. He sit with him and says, Ala dunya ba'daka al-afa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah al-ali al-azim inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك وأناخت برحلك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.